why we do these. Traditionally in Buddhist practice, meditation was a way of sharpening the mind and bringing it into focus and allowing a practitioner to really develop a very, very deep understanding of who they are and what they're about. And that's still what meditation can do if one elects to sort of make it a very, very large practice and part of an overall spiritual endeavor. At the same time, over the last 30 or 40 years, it's become clear that some of the simpler aspects of meditation instruction can have some very, very beneficial effects on emotional and mental health. And so we like to offer simple meditation instructions that can be useful for people in daily life, for people who are so interested. And the first thing I would say is that a lot of people are attracted to meditation, and they have an idea that they'll practice meditation and all of the inner chatter in their mind and all the chitch that goes on forever will just be able to be turned off like a light switch. And this is just not the case, and you'll be very, very unhappy if you think that by coming here you're going to learn how to turn off your mind. And in fact, part of what happens typically when people start meditating is they become a little bit more aware of how much chatter they actually do have going on in their mind. So what we're actually seeing ourselves doing is developing awareness and attention. And how that relates to ordinary living is that typically we have what could be called a passive attention. And that is something attracts our minds and we get drawn there. So we see a yellow flower and then we think it's, oh, it might be Mother's Day in a couple of weeks and I've got to buy my mother flowers. But then again, my mother never gave me birthday presents, and gosh, I'm really angry at my mother. And so we just sort of passively react, and there's a whole chain of associations, and before we know it, we might be blowing up. And some of this can happen very, very quickly. With active attention, you would, let's say, be looking at a flower, and you might notice that, oh, there's a thought, Mother's Day is another 3 weeks. But instead of getting identified and thoroughly absorbed with that thought, you would just see it as a thought that arises and ceases, and you'd be just looking at the flower. You would be focusing on the flower and allowing whatever other stray thoughts, emotions to come and go. The modern cognitive psychologists will call that process decentering. A more layperson way of saying it is you don't have to do or believe every thought that comes into your mind. Most of us don't even really, if you haven't done any therapy or if you haven't done any meditation, you have a thought, oh, I need to go to Kroger's. We just sort of pop up and we need to go to Kroger's. Or maybe my spouse doesn't care for me. We just believe my spouse doesn't care for me. It never occurs to us that this can just be a thought that's arising and coming through our minds, and it's just a thought and it really doesn't have any significance whatsoever. We just believe everything that comes into our attention, and we then often act on these attentional things. So one of the processes of meditation is that we're allowing thoughts and feelings to arise and cease, but we're not necessarily getting snagged by them. They come and they go. They come and they go. And it gives us a certain kind of ability to make some decisions as to whether we want to believe or engage with a particular set of thoughts and or reactions. But the primary thing we're doing is learning how to keep our attention steady. And when things arise and cease, we just are aware of them.